On Breakfast, we are familiar with the three dads, Mike, Andy and Tim, who became friends after their daughters all took their own lives.
Well, last year they inspired all of us with that 300-mile trek to raise awareness of suicide, even catching the attention of celebrities like Daniel Craig and Nicole Kidman, who then donated.
Well, now the dads are launching a new challenge, walking to all 4 UK parliaments to try and get suicide awareness on the school curriculum. Alison Freeman has been to catch up with them.
My dad's boots are old and worn, my dad's face is tired and drawn, but my dad's feet will meet the dawn, my dad's walking on.
When you know that kind of over 200 school children every year die by suicide, that's a whole primary school dying. If that happened in one go, the government would do something about it. But because it happens in individuals, it doesn't reach headlines, it doesn't make the headlines. And also there's the stigma around suicide from, when it was a crime, and we've still got that in society.
We will walk and talk like man. 3 dads walking on.
It was last year, after meeting each other due to the deaths of their daughters, that the 3 dads decided it was up to them to get the subject of suicide at the forefront of people's minds. With their daughters' photos in their backpacks, they walked the 300 miles between their 3 homes in Cumbria, Greater Manchester and Norfolk to raise awareness, as well as almost £1 million for the suicide prevention charity Papyrus. They talked candidly about the loss of Emily, Sophie and Beth.
You just feel as if you're in free fall and you don't know where you're going. It's just devastating, absolutely devastating, and you just don't know how you'll ever recover from it.
The world suddenly fell apart around us. There was suddenly nothing to hold on to. Nothing felt real. Just a sickness in the pit of your stomach.
Devastation's too small a word. You literally are plunged into a surreal world of complex grief.
And as a result, along the way, they met so many other people with their own stories of lost loved ones to tell.
Because they know what we're going through. We're all in the same club, not one you want to be in at all. And to actually talk to other people who are going through the same has been it's just been amazing.
I've recently lost my daughter to suicide, and I just need to understand why.
I think the key thing I'd say is that, not to be on your own, really. Absolutely. Is to talk to other people.
3 fathers.
They not only caught the attention of the nation, but Hollywood stars too. Daniel Craig donated £10,000, as did Nicole Kidman, after seeing the dad's story here on BBC Breakfast.
So the sanctuary is in here. If you're having a stressful day, or you want to get away from everyone else and everything that else is going on, you can come in here.
Here at the school that Tim's daughter went to, this room has been created in her memory with his help. Suicide has also been discussed in lessons, something the 3 dads now want to see made compulsory in all schools. Do you think the 3 dads can change the way schools look at this?
If it was statutory, all schools would be required to do so. We talk a lot about things like knife crime and radicalisation, and I'm not taking away or belittling that at all. But if we think about young people being more likely to be harmed by suicide than perhaps those other topics, then I think that all schools should be more prepared, or should be prepared, to talk about suicide.
And the students' response has been positive.
It's been a taboo subject of where you may feel as though you can't talk about it. So I think you've just got to break down that barrier. If you start the education at a young age, if you're ever in that position of where you think, OK, this is getting quite serious, with that education you may think, OK, I need to take a step back, I need to go and speak to someone.
Would you be able to ask a friend if, are you considering taking that course of action?
I feel as though I could.
Do you think you and your friends are comfortable talking about it?
I feel like if someone brought it up within the group, then we would be able to address it seriously and try to help them if it reached that point.
How important is it, do you think, that young people are taught about suicide prevention?
I think it's very important because it equips you for later on in life. If you are in that situation, you have it gives you a way out, in a sense.
So it gives you somewhere to turn.
Gives somewhere to turn.
There are miles and miles to go. My dad's walking on.
We talk lots about mental health, but we don't bridge the gap to suicide. And if you look at the current PSHE curriculum, I don't think suicide's mentioned once in there. We need to mention it so the children and the young people know where to go, because talking about it will save lives.
How do you think you might have felt if you had heard that Emily had been taught about suicide before her death?
If any parent who's been bereaved by suicide had had the chance to expose their child, their young person to it and have them talk in a constructive manner about it and a safe manner, then I'm sure they would prefer that and maybe be a little bit offended than to be living with the death of their son and daughter.
3 dads walking on. 3 dads walking on.
Well, Tim, Mike and Andy join us this morning in their shorts and walking boots. Always training, I would imagine. Tim, I was really struck with what you said at the beginning of Alison's piece. You said 200 children lost. That is the equivalent every year of a primary school. If we were to lose that number of children in one day, something more would be done, and it's not happening.
And that's how it feels. When you lose a child to suicide, you're very isolated, you're very on your own until you team up with other bereaved parents. But yeah, because you're on your own, there's no impact. But if it was a group of you being affected all in one go, then I'm sure the nation, we as a society, would do something about it. And over 200 school children every year, it's incredible. It's a horrible amount.
You guys are certainly doing something about it. You've already done a lot about it, and now you're taking it to the next level. So, Mike, last time it was 300 miles between your homes. Just talk us through, remind, this is more than 500 miles you're going to do?
Yeah, it's more, well, nearly 6. It might be 6. If we go the wrong way, it'll be. It'll
Don't
be
take
6.
any wrong turns.
Yeah, we very much feel as though there is so much more to do, and we feel as though it is the thing to do. So yes, walking between the capitals is, you know, I think it'll still highlight the problems and keep the awareness going, and yeah.
And talk to the decision makers, the leaders, the politicians in each of the 4 nations.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, you know, we're going from Stormont, Holyrood to the Senate and then to Westminster, and we want to keep walking and talking. We want to talk about the school's curriculum. We want to talk about life skills. We want to talk about early years, primary school, secondary school, into higher education, building these life skills so our young people can carry these skills through the rest of their lives, not just for themselves, but other people, their family, friends. So we keep the awareness there. So, I mean, we're talking about academic qualifications and things, but surely these awareness in people's own mental health and suicide, surely they're as important as well.
And Andy, walking last time, you drew people who'd been through similar experiences to the roadside. They sought you out because they gained strength from thinking, oh my goodness, here's some other people who've been through what I've been through. I would imagine it's incredibly isolating, and giving people that opportunity to talk to others is massive.
Well, we knew people would find us on the walk, partly because we were carrying a tracker so people could follow us in real time. And so if you look on the 3Dads Walking UK website, that page is up and running, hopefully today, so you'll be able to see the route. And this year we'll also carry the same tracker, so we'll be able to follow us. But what we were finding was, yeah, people came and sought us out, and in many cases spoke to us the first time that they shared the stories of their loss. And I've got to say, we were a bit concerned about how we would feel in that situation, and we were kind of looking out for each other. But we realised very quickly we'd created a very privileged position that we were in, where people felt so safe to explore some really tragic tales. And it really became quite an honour, didn't it, to put ourselves in a position where people felt able to do that.
That's what other people have gained from contact with you. I'm just wondering about what you gain from your camaraderie between one another. That strength, that unit that you've created between the 3 of you is something magnificent. No, it really is. I mean, it's wonderful to see that how you've used something so utterly awful to bring that strength from one another.
You realise you're not alone. Yeah. That's what it is. But we unfortunately are in the same club. But the devastating effect from suicide is, you know, the pain is passed on. over 135 people are affected by each suicide to different degrees, and this is why the postvention, looking after people after suicide, the families and people affected, is so important as well. But yes, we found each other, and it gives us very much a point and a purpose to carry on.
Tim, what do you think the girls would make of this, of your ventures, of your fundraising?
They'll probably think, oh, Dad, go away, don't be stupid. But they haven't got a choice now, so we're going to do this in their memory, but also, most importantly, to try and stop young people taking their own lives, because there's just too many young people out there taking their own lives. So if we can do something positive out of something so horrible, then that's just got to be a good thing.
One of the things at the end of the walk last year, as we walked across the line, one of the first things Alison said, how do you feel? And it was like, well, the one thing it didn't feel like was the end.
Right.
It was the end of that walk, wasn't it? But it really felt like we just got our teeth into something that was just starting. And once the penny drops that we realised we could make a difference, we feel obliged to keep going.
And when you hear, I mean, Tim, we saw you visiting a school then and hearing about the kind of changes that you want to make. When you hear from the young people that were just in Alison's report then, talking about, they're crying out to talk about this kind of stuff.
So it was Maisie, Sam and Jack so articulately said they want the support, they want to be able to talk to our generation about it. Their generation's talking about it. It's our generation, the older generation, that's not talking about it. And it's us that needs to open up and create that space for the young people. So we need to encourage that across society.
The guys at Papyrus, the Prevention of Young Suicide, the charity that we've been supporting, did some research at the start of this year, and that was exactly what they got, wasn't it? They were asking young people about the experience of school, and one of the things that came out in very loudly was they wanted some help and support, and it's the people that are in charge aren't listening to what the children want.
I mean, the government in Westminster has given us a statement and they say, look, we are investing millions of pounds in mental health provision for young people and we are encouraging discussion of mental health issues in school as part of lessons. But you're saying it's specifically, you're raising your eyes there, Tim,
So it's specifically, there's mental health, but if you're in that suicidal space, you're kind of beyond that mental health, you're at the right-hand end of that mental health. And for the curriculum not to mention suicide just shows that we, as a society, aren't willing to talk to our young people about it. But they're already talking about it. So
that's
let's
really
give them that space.
Isn't it? Young people will talk about anything, and it's adults that put up boundaries.
Exactly.
Is there still this notion that somebody taking their own life is a taboo, that people feel awkward going there, Mike?
Oh, absolutely. The stigma is still there. It is improving. It is absolutely improving. But this is why it's so important to talk about it. You can talk about it, then people will know, they'll be signposted where to go for help, some support, and obviously Papyrus, Hope Line, and things like that, things are there, but often kids, young people don't know where to go.
I just wonder whether there might be some teachers and parents watching who worry about it being discussed in school and worry about, sort of other children copying and that kind of thing. Is that something we need to consider in this?
Well, every piece of research is done across the world shows that talking about suicide doesn't cause suicide. Talking about suicide stops suicide. And that's been replicated time after time after time. So it's us adults and our society are stopping the conversation that will save our young people. It's stupid. We're stupid. We actually sat with the Department of Education civil servants a fortnight ago, didn't we? And it was actually the team who were responsible for pupil physical and mental well-being. So the people who actually write that part of the curriculum. Really interesting conversation, and they're very. You can see what a challenge they have got, and they have come an awful long way in the last 10 years. And yes, talking about mental health is on the curriculum, but it's not compulsory. But when we ask the question, how many times is suicide in that curriculum, the answer was 0.
Yes, and actually asking the question, are you feeling suicidal? Are you thinking of taking your life? Unfortunately, they are such hard questions. But something you can often get a yes or no answer, and then you can take it from there.
You've got to where you need to be very quickly.
People deserve second chances, as many second chances as it takes. We all know that life isn't always easy. you know, and suicide is it's very complex. No two suicides are the same. I get their long-term mental health issues, etc. But often giving that person a second chance is so important. Some of the most powerful stories we got were from people who had been in bad places but had now come through it and were living a life.
People are savable.
Yes.
I'm afraid we have to leave it there for now, but we'll be there with you in September. Is it when you do this?
Yeah.
Those boots are looking very new, I have to say. You need to break them in.
I mean, there'll be a lot of opportunity to
We'll do that. Yeah. Good luck. And I'm sure Alison Freeman, our reporter, will follow you as well, and we'll catch up with you before, during and after.
Excellent.
And wish you well. Thank you
Good
so
luck.
much for joining us.
Well done for keeping it in people's minds. It's brilliant.
Totally.
Thank you.
If you want some inspiration for your training, this is only 1,500 metres, but it's quite impressive.